What's up, guys? Welcome to Rob's house. All right, first Corvette mod today is the easiest one because it's free. We're gonna lower the Corvette. So, stock height, these things actually come quite high. As you can see, I can fit all four fingers and still have some room to spare here. So it's got quite a bit of wheel gap, and I would like to eliminate that. Fortunately, these cars come with, the C7, like the C6, uses a leaf spring suspension. And the leaf spring has bolts that are used to set the height where they're connected to the cradle. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna put this thing up on jack stands, use a jack to support the leaf spring, back the bolts all the way down, lower it as much as we can on the stock bolts. Should eliminate some of this wheel gap. It'll still give us a little bit of gap. It won't make it undrivably low or anything like that. Some people use lowering bolts to get the car lower, but the recommended way if you want to go lower than the stock bolts is not to cut the bushings on the bolts because that will compromise their integrity. It's to actually use drop spindles. But I don't want my car to be that low. I just want it to be not as high up as it is. If I get, you know, an inch front and rear, I think that'll be sufficient. So that's what we're gonna do today. Let me get the car up on jack stands and we'll get started. All right, so for anyone not familiar with Corvettes, these are jack pucks. And the point of these things is so that you can distribute the load on the rocker panel so as to not completely deform the rocker panel by placing your jack right up against it. So underneath the car, there are these holes that are in this shape on top of the puck, and you basically just insert them and turn them so that they stay, and then you can put your jack underneath the puck and lift the car up safely without destroying the rocker panel underneath. Whoever owned my C6 definitely did not have these pucks because that rocker panel was pretty bent. So since the C7 is shiny and doesn't have very many miles on it and is not beat up, we're going to try to keep it that way. So we are going to lift it the proper way. All right, guys, so check it out. So the previous owner definitely didn't use jack pucks on this car because there's already a little bit of distortion on the rocker panels. But fortunately, it's not enough distortion that would prevent me from using the pucks. So I did jack the car up using the puck correctly. If you take a peek under here, I have one jack stand set there on the cradle. I have my jack actually positioned on the leaf spring itself, that black thing right here. This is the leaf spring, and then there's a bolt. I don't know if you can see it. See that bolt sticking up? That's the thing we're gonna adjust. Now, if you look underneath the bushing, we still have some room. So all we're gonna do is back that bolt all the way out, and that'll effectively lower the suspension. We're gonna do that in all four corners of the car. The assembly looks exactly the same. Both front and rear have a leaf spring going across. I'm just gonna back that bolt out and I'll show you how it sits when it's done. So I'll be back. One thing I forgot to mention, it's a 10 millimeter head on that bolt. So when you go to adjust it, all you need is a 10 millimeter wrench to do this. That's it. All right, guys, we're all done. I enlisted the help of my friend Mark because doing it with one set of hands was a little bit difficult. I ended up having to actually take all the wheels off. One of the passenger side rear leaf spring bolt was somewhat seized. So I had to actually take the wheel off, put an extension down in there and, you know, get some leverage to get it loose. But anyway, it's all done now. It probably doesn't look any different. I measured it before and after, and it's sitting about the same because I haven't driven it yet, so I have to drive it and let the suspension kind of settle. But I will report back after I've done that. All right, guys, check it out. So I just drove the car about 40 miles up and down the interstate. The suspension's had a chance to settle a little bit now, and it's definitely looking a lot better. So I'll just give you a really quick shot of the rear and peek of the front. Tape measure wise, we're looking at, before I was at about 29.25 inches off from the ground to the core panel. Now we're at about 28.5 on both sides. And in the front, I am at about 27. Before I was at about 27.5. So I got about ½ inch in the front, about 3/4 inch in the rear. So I'm happy with that. The car was just like abnormally high originally, and that's probably just because they're trying to give you as much ground clearance as they can from the factory. We have pretty good roads here in Tennessee, so I don't really I don't really need that much. And with that said, I still have plenty. I mean, the car's not, this isn't nearly as low as the C6 was. So I think this is fine for now. I'll decide if I want to go the drop spindles route at a later date, but I think I'm leaning toward just leaving it be. So anyway, thanks for checking out this video. I hope it was informative for anyone who has a C7 and wanted to know how to lower the bolts. It's super easy. Just make sure that whichever side you're working on, after you jack it up, that you take some of the stress off of the leaf spring itself, so that that makes it easier to undo the bolt. That's pretty much all there is to it. I'll see you guys next time.